Welcome to the NZ Travel Show, an interactive show where you can ask your NZ travel questions to the experts behind nzpocketguide.com, New Zealand's largest travel guide. The NZ Travel Show will start in exactly 2 minutes. Just the time for you to hit the like button, ring the notification bell, and subscribe if you have not done so yet. nzpocketguide.com has over 3,000 articles covering all aspects of travelling in New Zealand, from a working holiday gap year to tips for a perfect family holiday. The site also features dozens of pre-made itineraries that you can use to plan your ideal trip in New Zealand. It's all available for free at nzpocketguide.com, so check it out. The NZ Travel Show is hosted by Robin, the Operations Manager of South Pacific Pocket Guide, the company behind nzpocketguide.com. The New Zealand Travel Show is also hosted by Laura, a journalist and editor-in-chief of South Pacific Pocket Guide and all its publications, including nzpocketguide.com. We're exactly 1 minute away from the NZ Travel Show. Get yourself comfortable and start asking your NZ travel questions in the chat. Robin and Laura will go over them when the show starts. In 30 seconds, our experts will be live from New Zealand to give you all the practical New Zealand travel tips you need, from the best transport options to the best accommodations and activities to choose for the perfect New Zealand holiday. Live from New Zealand, this is the NZ Travel Show with your travel experts, Robin and Laura.
Good morning, everybody. It is Sunday, the 7th of January 2024, and this is the NZ Travel Show. Let's begin with a big announcement, Laura, shall we?
What?
Well, it's 2024. Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year.
No.
It's like, what are you about to announce? Yes, it is a new year.
Yeah.
And aren't you glad you heard it from us?
Yes. I mean, 7 days behind, a little bit behind the news curve.
I think I'd already moved on from the new year
me
period.
too. I think it's fine to stop saying Happy New Year after about a week, isn't it? Like, I've stopped saying it.
No, well, okay. Are you talking about literally from 5 seconds ago? Or?
Yes. Yeah, I just remembered right now when I said the date. I was like, oh yeah, the last time we said was not that, right? So I was like, yeah. Anyway, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Kelly. Happy New Year, Rick. Rick says Kia ora. Kelly says Happy New Year, everybody. Oh, that's all nice. But yeah, it's a brand new year, 2024. Everybody has a resolution to travel to New Zealand. Everybody. I've talked to people, and people say they're coming to New Zealand. It's an exciting year ahead. Laura, do you have a lot of fun stuff planned this year?
Sure. Yes, I do.
She is coming prepared today. Excited, pumped, prepared, all that thing. Anyway, all right. So in this NZ Travel Show, we usually have a theme of the week that we cover throughout the shows, but it is your place to ask us all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. So if you're planning a trip to New Zealand and want to bounce some ideas with us and want to chat with us about upcoming trip or any questions you may have about anything to do with traveling in New Zealand, well, we kind of are the expert behind New Zealand's largest travel guide. So we're here to answer all your questions. So this live show is the back and forth between you and us, asking us all the questions you want, and sometimes we have answers. At times, when Laura's awake, she's coming around. And, it's gonna get there
Any moment now.
Any moment now, she's coming. But yeah, so that's kind of how it works. Kelly says 42 days until an amazing trip.
Oof, that's gonna go quickly.
Yeah. When it comes down to like less than a month, usually that's when it starts going really fast.
Yeah.
Hey, that's been a long time. Sander, how are you doing, my friend? He says Happy New Year and hope we can watch many more of your live streams. And hopefully I can go to New Zealand again at the end of this year. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So you want to come in our summer again? So you want to come in like November, December again, or a bit earlier than that? Beat the busy season. Come earlier, mate. So yeah, that's how the live show works. That's it. In the meantime, we do have a theme for this week. So fill the comment section with your questions. And in the meantime, let's go about the theme of the week. All right. So
What's
this
the theme of the week, Robin?
Wow. All right, so this week we're going to be talking about the town, the city that you may have heard the most about when planning your trip to New Zealand, and it's Queenstown, the most Instagrammable city in the country, the most overhyped city in the country, if I say so myself. But yeah, it's a great lakeside southern town renowned for all its adventure activities, from skiing in winter to whitewater rafting in summer, but you can also do it in winter, let's be honest, and obviously bungee jumping all year round. However, there are a few underrated experiences that we're going to cover today, and yeah, we're going to go over all of our tips to make the most of your time in Queenstown. Should it be only a couple of days, or should it be spending a few months there during your gap year? So let's talk Queenstown. And yes, whitewater rafting is closed in winter, but you know, it's kind of people think they can only do it for 2 months.
Jump in.
Yeah, the people think they can only do it for about 2 months in Queenstown.
Yeah,
the season's actually really
most
long.
of the year. You
Yeah,
can do
exactly. All right, Laura, should we get started?
Yeah, let's
All
do
right,
it.
I just need to do the clickety-click. All right, so let's begin with a few FAQ, frequently asked questions about Queenstown. So, Laura, where is Queenstown?
Queenstown is located in the central Otago region of the South Island of New Zealand, which is the second southernmost region of the South Island. So it's quite far down south.
So, because it's so far south, is it super cold? Like, what's the weather like in Queenstown?
So the weather is, it is pretty chilly, especially compared to the North Island. The ranges change a lot, the temperature ranges. So the daily average temperature in Queenstown is around 10 degrees Celsius.
Which is 50.2 degrees Fahrenheit. But again, it's the average for the entire year, right?
Yeah. And it does get its fair share of rainfall throughout the year. It's approximately around 858 millimeters of rain.
Which is 33.8 inches.
So yeah, that's the weather.
Okay, so what are the best months then to visit Queenstown?
So it really depends on what you want to do in Queenstown. Of course, if you want to come for the winter season, if you want to try skiing, snowboarding, then the winter season runs from July to September, although the best months would be August and September to do skiing and snowboarding. However, if you want some warmer climate for your time in Queenstown, then it's best to travel there between November and March.
All right, so speaking of traveling to Queenstown, how do you make your way toward Queenstown? How do you get to Queenstown?
Okay, there are many ways to get to Queenstown. So Queenstown does have its own international airport. Mostly international flights come from Australia, but plenty of domestic flights specifically come from Christchurch and Auckland. There's also, Queenstown is on the national bus route. So if you're taking the intercity bus, then you can definitely get to Queenstown via that way. There's also, obviously, it's well connected by roads. So if you're doing a road trip around New Zealand, you can get there by car, camper van, whatever method you choose. And it does have car rental.
Moped?
Moped, of course.
Of course.
There are car rental companies based in Queenstown, so it could be a good place to do one-way rentals if you want to drop off your vehicle in Queenstown. Then there are a select few companies that are based in Queenstown as well. And yeah, I think that just about covers transport.
All right, so how many days should people spend in Queenstown?
So I'd say like the minimum amount of days to spend in Queenstown is 2 days. There's usually, you know, if you really want to squeeze in some of the highlights, then 2 days is a good amount of time. But there is certainly enough in Queenstown to stay around for about 5 days. I would say is like if you have a lot of time to spare, then 5 days would be a nice long stint to do in Queenstown. But yeah, anywhere between 2 to 5 days is a good amount of time.
So you would say 3 days enough?
Yeah, 3 days is enough.
Nice. So do you need a car in Queenstown to make the most of your time there?
You don't necessarily need a car. So good thing about a lot of the tours there is that they do offer pickups from accommodations in Queenstown, or they'll offer pickups from what they call the station building, which is this sort of main building on Shotover Street in Queenstown. So yeah, pickups are available for going to most tours. Otherwise, there is public transport. So there is a bus service, there are taxis. So there are other transport options. You don't have to necessarily, pay the big bucks for car rental if you're staying in Queenstown, if you don't have to. And finding parking in Queenstown can be quite annoying. So, there's sometimes a lot of disadvantages to having a car around in Queenstown if you don't need it.
All right, so one of the big questions we often receive is how expensive is Queenstown?
Queenstown is one of the most expensive places to visit in New Zealand, mainly because a lot of the activities there are more of the expensive activities. So yeah, it's a tourist town. There's lots of competition between companies. So yeah, it can be quite expensive. So just to give sort of a ballpark figure of if you're doing a real budget trip, then you might want to save around 1,700 New Zealand dollars for your trip. But if you're doing no, let's not go through that. I was going to say for a solo 7-day trip. I'm reading my notes, and that's
$8,000.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You explained that.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
So your budget will be, if you're solo, about $1,700 for like 2-3 days in Queenstown. With the accommodation, all the activities. But if you want to do a 7-day trip, it's going to be about like $8,000 for, let's say, a family, because you can kind of budget around a little bit on that.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, another question we get quite often is why is Queenstown, so expensive? And so it's basically because humans, this town is not built as a town where you can live in. Therefore, it is basically mostly a tourist resort, and everything is priced as such for people only spending a small amount of time there and just making them spend as much money as possible. So that's just kind of the explanation of why is Queenstown so expensive. Now, Laura, why is Queenstown best known for? Why is it so famous?
It's best known for being the adventure capital of New Zealand, so particularly known for its adrenaline activities, bungee jumping, skydiving, whitewater rafting, canyoning, jet boating, giant swings, all that sort of thing. That's sort of the name or the brand that Queenstown has based itself on.
Nice. And so does Queenstown, last question for you, does Queenstown get any snow?
It certainly gets snow in the surrounding mountains, so that's why it does have a ski season. However, the snow doesn't necessarily always go into the town. It's quite rare for it to snow.
Yeah, it depends on the season and the year.
Yeah, it's quite rare for it to snow in the town itself.
All right, and so that would be winter, that would be June to August, just to clarify that. All right, next we're going to talk about the best thing to do in Queenstown, but first, let's go back to the live chat. Okay, so we have Ted that says, hello from Canada. Howdy about Canada. He says, we will be arriving in Auckland mid-October. We will check your website and tips for travel information. Oh, awesome.
Nice.
I don't know if you know that, Ted, but in the description of this video, we do have a Patreon group. You can join it. It's super cheap, and it's a way to support us, but it's also a way to get us to help you plan your trip. So we do weekly group calls, which happen after this live show, and we all jump on Google Hangout, and we chat about your trip, help you plan your trip. We also have spreadsheets where we share itineraries, and we kind of all add notes and stuff. It's really cool. And you have access to a secret Facebook group where we share a lot about New Zealand, obviously, but we also kind of answer all your questions to relieve all that stress for you. So if you're interested, make sure to check that out. Otherwise, ask us all your questions right here in the chat. We're happy to answer them. Juan is also here saying, Happy New Year, guys. Best wishes, and I dream of visiting New Zealand sometimes. Oh, that'd be awesome to have you on board, my friend. We also have Rick. What is Rick saying?
Rick says, time to search for my yellow submarine. Also saying, it is only 6 months before I depart to New Zealand. I can't wait to start the working holiday adventure. Woo!
So as a
half a year.
As a backstory, Rick is one of our Patreon, and he's coming for a working holiday, and he's planning on buying a car. And I am adamant that he should buy a car that is yellow color. For some reason, I just catch on to that. And so we were looking together during one of those group calls. We were looking at the New Zealand marketplaces and see what kind of cars were available. And I'm gonna get him to get a yellow car one day. Anyway. Rob Wilson is here. What is Rob saying?
Rob says, we loved our trip to New Zealand last July and plan to return for the future. Our plans are to return in one of the shorter seasons.
Oh, somebody watched our recent videos. I like it.
Can you give a quick plus or minus on trips in March or October? And he also continues to say, would plan to do a 1-2 week trip to the North Island and another 2-week trip to the South Island.
So pluses and minuses. I'll be honest with you, Rob. Those are our two favorite months to travel New Zealand. So basically, I kind of only have pluses. But okay, I'm trying to be fair, right? Trying to find minuses, right?
Okay, I can find a minus for March.
Okay, go for it. What's the minus for March?
So the high season in New Zealand, although summer does end in February,
Yeah.
you'll find that March is also a really popular time. Like the sort of high season does extend into March. So if you are looking for, if you're going to really popular places, say like Milford Sound or Queenstown or Lake Tekapo, maybe Rotorua, that sort of places, then they're still going to be very busy during that time. So if you prefer to sort of avoid the crowds as much as possible, then March is not necessarily the best month to go. October would be much better.
Yeah, okay, I agree with that. But yeah, anyway, the plus is the weather in March. The weather is still good. It's New Zealand. It's always changeable, but it's still like kind of like really good season. The number of tourists significantly dies down. Actually, a minus for March. The prices are not as low as it gets. The prices start going down. For the low season, which is in winter in New Zealand, which is June and July and August. So the prices are not as low as it gets like in April and everything like that. But it's fine. So you're still going to be like close to the summer prices. But yeah, so you have much less tourists. You get the roads to yourself. You're going to get hikes to yourself. I mean, it's really awesome.
Yeah.
When it comes down to October, so for October, I have a similar kind of minus point to what we were talking about before, is the fact that October is the kickstart of our summer season, of our busy season, right? So usually that's when kind of the price, especially around the end of October, that's when the price goes back up, right? But that said, when it comes down to the pluses, much less tourists than there is in other months. Usually, actually, the flights are a little bit cheaper. Actually, one of the minus, if you come in October, right, and you're coming for a whole month, you're going to be living in a busy season, so you may have like an expensive return flight. So you may want to book your return flight early on to kind of sort that out. October, is it the lambing season in October? Yes. So a thing to keep in mind in October is that it's the lambing season. So lambing season means the sheep makes babies, or actually give birth to babies, and so there is babies everywhere. So there are quite a few walks in New Zealand which start on farmland, and so if they start on farmland, quite often they actually close those walks so the babies have more time with their mothers, or I don't know what a baby lamb is doing. Yeah, I don't know what a baby lamb is doing. I just know they're cute, mate. But yeah, so some of the walks will be closed. So you have if you have some specific walks you want to do that start on farmland, you may want to check that out. That said, there's really not that many, and it mostly affects locals like us, which have done all the other walks and want to do those specific ones. So that's something to keep in mind for October. Aside from that, just all positive. It's our favorite month to travel in New Zealand. I'm sure, Rob, you have watched our shoulder and off-season kind of videos, and so all the positive side stuff applies.
Yeah.
Anything that comes to mind for you in October?
I would say that October is slightly colder than March. So if weather is something that you consider, of course, in terms of like rainfall, that doesn't really matter because it could rain in March or October. But yeah, just in terms of temperature, March tends to be a bit warmer than October, and you will still want to make sure that you have a few extra warm layers and stuff for October, which you might not need as much of in March.
Exactly. That's an awesome question, Rob.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate you. Same thing than Ted. Join us on Patreon. It's a lot of fun. Also, YouTube tells me to get you guys to hit likes because we have 11 people watching and only 3 likes, and it says very low ratio. The robot's not happy, guys. All right. So we have Adil also that's coming to us with some really good questions, Laura. So, Kiara, Robin, Laura, and all the viewers. Always so polite. I love Adil. Adil, you're always just so nice. He says, I missed the last live stream about traveling by car at night in New Zealand, but I did watch the recording. Regarding that topic, I have a few questions. Okay, firstly, is it safe? Does New Zealand have any incident of people being ambushed and hijacked
Yeah.
in quiet places on the highway at that time? So can you get hijacked on the highway in New Zealand at night? Have you ever heard of that?
I've never heard of that.
No,
So
I think New
yeah,
Zealand is way safer than you think.
yeah, I wouldn't worry about that.
No. Second question: how reliable and efficient is the roadside assistance service at night in New Zealand in the event that one car's break down at that time?
Maybe you can take that question.
Yeah. So I actually did have an accident one time at night. It was in 2002 or 2004, so many moons ago, on my first ever trip to New Zealand. And yeah, as long as you have phone coverage, right? So in some places you don't really have phone coverage in New Zealand. So then at that point you need to kind of get the car on the side and just kind of wait for somebody to pass, and then they'll go get you someone. But if you do have phone coverage, and you do have roadside assistance, which is very often included with your car rental, pretty much all the time included with your car rental. Hey, thank you to all the people that clicked like. That was lovely. YouTube is now happy. We have 8 viewers and 9 likes. So it's good. We had some viewers that left and some people that clicked like. So now we have a better ratio and the robot is happier. So sometimes the robot is happier with less people watching. That's weird. Anyway, so let's go back to the roadside assistance. So the main service is so there's AA and there's a second option like from Tower Insurance, I think. But anyway, both of them pick up the phones and usually have like 24/7 service. Now keep in mind that New Zealand has a lot of stretches of let's say. No, uncivilized is the wrong side, but like countryside roads, right? Rural, that's the word. I was about to say uncivilized, but they're not like, oh no, the road's like going nuts. But yeah, countryside roads, right? So sometimes when you call, for roadside assistance, they're coming from quite far away, so you may be waiting for an hour or two, right? I mean, there is a couple of instances on New Zealand's biggest gap here that you can watch us actually calling roadside assistance.
Yeah.
I can recall at least twice. And every time it has been a wait of like probably between 30 minutes and an hour. And then you get the mechanic coming to help with that. But every time we have had this kind of incident, the time we blew up the tire and the time when the camper van completely broke down, it was always quite far away from everywhere.
Yes.
And so they still came.
Yeah, one place
quite
was
early on,
out of phone signal, so that's why we found a nearby house and asked
Yeah.
if we could use their phone.
Which they told us they were not selling soap anymore. Okay, it was.
It's a big sign saying
This
"We
is
do
a
not
very
sell
weird
soap
video.
here."
This was a very weird day on the road.
Yeah.
As we walked in to ask for using their phone, and they say we're not selling your soap. That's how you expect to be greeted. Anyway, hey, welcome to all 16 of you that are watching us. That is like twice more than usual. We are on fire right here. I love it. Welcome to everybody that is just joining us. Oh, and 5 of them just left. Anyway, quick recap.
Way too happy.
Way too happy to see people here. Anyway, if you have any questions about traveling in New Zealand, go nuts. We're here for you if you are brand new to this live show. What is Rob saying? Oh no, what is Anthony saying?
Anthony is here, one of our lovely patrons, saying Morena from Rodeo, California.
Laura, what does Morena mean?
Morena means good morning in the Maori language, Te Reo Maori.
Nice.
We also have Rob Wilson saying, is rugby still being played in the shoulder seasons? We caught a Warriors game in Auckland and had a great time. Would want to try and catch another rugby game when we visit. We have to be honest with you, Rob. Our sports knowledge is actually very much
non-existent.
Lacking. So we are definitely not the best people to ask about the rugby seasons.
However, we have a Patreon that shows up on all of our live show. His name is Talauta, and he's actually a rugby referee. So when he shows up, we'll ask him the question. All right, so stick around. He's going to show up at some point today, usually around the end of the live show. So stick around, we'll ask him.
We will,
because he usually knows that. But when it comes down to kind of playing with locals, like kind of like friendly games, just like kind of some kids kind of playing rugby and everything. That happens all year round, and I've played rugby with kids and got my ass handed out to me quite pretty much all year round. So yeah, that happens.
Happens in every season.
Every season. Mark D says, Happy New Year to all. Happy New Year, Mark.
Happy New Year.
How are you doing? He says, when is the best time to purchase flights from the US that arrive in October? There is a specific amount of days, and I think it's 47 days prior to your flight. There is like some well-known statistics. There is kind of like 47 days before your flight is actually better. So let me just find on our website. We have an article about it.
Yeah, so we've got an article on nzpocketguide.com, which is how to book a cheap flight to New Zealand, which is a compilation of all these sort of money-saving tips that we have been able to find over the years for booking international flights to New Zealand. And we did find some interesting statistics about how far in advance you should book flights.
So I searched cheap flight on NZ Pocket Guide, right? I'm sorry, I'm just readjusting the screen because there's an issue right here and this saddens me. So I searched cheap flight and then there's like how to book a cheap flight right here. nzpocketguide.com, by the way, is the address for everybody. And so in here, here you go. I was right. So we check that about like every 6 months. We check what are the current stats for like when do you need to book your flight and everything, and we update those tips right here. But yeah, so the current one is book 47 days before the date of the flight is actually the best time. So yeah, I'll give the link of the article in the chat box for you guys. Here you go if you want to go check it out. There is obviously a lot of other tips and everything on there. But yeah, book 47 days before the date of the flight.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, usually last minute deals are not good.
Yeah,
deals.
they're not deals. They're just not deals. We always look at that, especially for us. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay, especially for us going to the South Pacific Island, I'm in charge of kind of like organizing most of the logistics of our trip, and last minute deals that always I find I spend at least 200 bucks more than I should.
It's more like they're trying to get people that are like desperate for their like we need to like book this trip really last minute, blah blah blah, and then they sort of prey on the vulnerable with their high prices.
They also get all the business travelers as well out of that. Whew, we are way too excited today. What is Basic 666? Ooh, that's an interesting name.
Yeah.
Basic 666.
Hi folks, Happy New Year. I have a question. Do I need a special SIM card in New Zealand? Do you recommend any brands? Thanks in advance. Greetings from Scotland.
Scotland. All right. Laura's home country, Scotland. All right. Do you need any specific SIM cards? No, there is no special SIM card that you need. Obviously, it will be easier for you to get a local SIM card. It'll be significantly cheaper, and you'll have a local number for you to be called by operators or by anyone within New Zealand. Now, do we recommend any brands? So we don't work for any brands. However, there are some brands that we find are easier. So the one that we use, like genuinely as users, is called Skinny Mobile. It is operating on the network of Spark, which is kind of like the main telecom company here in New Zealand, and we find them to be significantly cheaper. We are on a plan that has that costs $16 a month, and which is $17 a month too.
It went up.
Yeah, which is prepaid, so you kind of buy a certain amount of money, right? You load your phone with $30, and then you buy that bundle, that plan for a month. And so that's absolutely enough for us to be able to kind of use it, both for business and personal, and know that it's basically everything we need. Yeah. So that's kind of like one of the one that we recommend. There is a lot of newcomers on the market. The one thing I'm going to say is that we find that the network ran by 2 degrees is significantly less good than what you will have with Spark and Vodafone. So from our experience, and we've been on all the different networks, right? And spoiler alert, our internet, like at home, is actually from 2 degrees. So we have Spark as the best network, then you have Vodafone, then you have 2 degrees.
And
right?
by Vodafone we mean 1NZ.
Oh yeah, they changed their name to 1NZ recently, which is nonsense. So that'd be the best kind of coverage wise. It would be Spark. I think that would be the best one. And so any of the other brand that resell the Spark network will have the same coverage. So that's why we like Skinny, because it's the same brand and Spark. It's the same coverage and Spark, but it's just cheaper prices. So always look, for example, which network they're using. So for example, there's a new network, which is called Warehouse Mobile, and it uses the 2 degree network. So yeah, it's really, really cheap, but it uses the network, which is coverage, right? Yeah. So just keep that in mind when you shop around. And obviously, if you get a SIM card for free at the airport, well, that's obviously because it's not the best network, and that's what the 2 degrees does quite a lot. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of our take on that. But for you, Basic, we do have some videos as well about like the phone network and everything. We actually should do a new live show about it, just update everything. That'd be fun. Maybe that's you know what? Write it down as an idea for a live show theme.
Yeah, and we do have articles on nzpocketguide.com. comparing all the main mobile networks in New Zealand, so you can compare different bundles. Mostly people want to know the ones that are like the best network for using lots of data. So we do have all that on nzpocketguide.com. So if you just search either SIM cards or phone networks, you'll get to the right place. Also Robin answered Mark D's question, which carrier has the best overall country coverage. So
actually on Patreon, one of our Patreon called Armand, he was posting his journey on our secret Facebook group about getting an eSIM card, and so he went down that route, and that worked really well. So we may just update that and kind of give you that option as well.
If you want to get that sorted before coming to New Zealand, then you can get an eSIM card.
That was really cool. Like, he shared this whole kind of thing. Now we share a lot of more personal things on the Patreon stuff, where we don't have to kind of, like on the internet, everything is public. We can't really share some personal information, but we share exactly how we do things and everything more there. All right. Anyway. While you guys are continuing with some more questions about traveling in New Zealand, you guys are all super active and we absolutely love it. So thank you so much for that. We'll continue with our coverage of Queenstown. So let's go. Next up, let's talk about what there is to do in Queenstown. So Laura, just jump right into it. What are the top experiences in Queenstown?
Speaking of bungee jumping. There's lots of options for bungee jumping in Queenstown. There's 3 main bungee jumps there, which you can look into, and they're pretty cool. You can also do giant swings through canyons. There's the shot over canyon swing and the Nevis swing. So if you want to do, kind of something similar to a bungee, but you don't have to, you're sort of released into the abyss rather than having to jump yourself, then there's that option. Jet boating in Queenstown, there are several different options for that, and we do have comparison articles on nzpocketguide.com, so make sure to go check that out.
The link is in the description.
Cool. Skiing at the Remarkables. So the just to be quite frank, the closest ski field to Queenstown that is the best one, in my opinion, is the Remarkable ski field. So if you're visiting in winter, that's the one I would recommend to go to. If you want to do a bit of hiking or a free activity, then hiking Ben Lomond for a full day hike is a popular option. There's also the onsen hot pools. So if you want to go and do a beautiful hot pool experience with a view, then that's a good relaxing option. And for a popular day trip that's not too far away from Queenstown, Arrowtown is a really cool option to go visit.
Is there any good rainy day activities in Queenstown? Because it does rain at times in New Zealand.
Yes, so there are several rainy day activities, but just to quickly go through about 3 of them. Thrill Zone is an indoor entertainment centre, especially good for families. They have all that good stuff like laser tag, 4D cinema, all these sort of wacky things that, those indoor entertainment centres, all those things.
Laura is in with the youth right here. Look at that. Look at the face of being in with the youth.
So they have that in Queenstown. Also, it's a really good option on a rainy day to go to Milford Sound.
My favourite time to go to Queenstown.
Yes, arguably a lot of people do say that it is better in the rain to see a lot more waterfalls, so that could be a good thing to do on a rainy day.
We talked about that. We met one of our Patreon subscriber just 2 days ago. Oh yeah, yesterday, yeah. And we talked with her. She did Queenstown in the rain, and she did Queenstown during a sunny day. And yeah, we all were sharing that we liked it best during the rainy days.
And also a wine tour. So there are
get pissed.
Driving wine tours, and you're mostly staying out the rain if you're going indoors to different cellar doors and trying different wines.
Indeed. All right. And what is there to do at night in Milford Sound? So in Queenstown.
Queenstown, yes. So you can go on an evening cruise and farm tour on the TSS Earnslaw, which is like a steamship, which will take you across Lake Wakatipu to a high country farming station called Walter Peak, and they do a bit of a farm show there as well as an evening sort of buffet dinner. So if you want to get that sort of sense of farm life in New Zealand, then that's sort of the experience Queenstown offers. You can also go stargazing at the top of the Skyline gondola. So there's that. They have telescopes, powerful telescopes and stuff. Hope for a clear night.
Rah!
And then next up is Fear Factory. So this is like it's an indoor activity, but also they are open till quite late on an evening, and it's kind of like a horror sort of theme park experience.
And obviously there is all your restaurants, nightclubs, bars, and all that. Queenstown
All that
has
good stuff.
pub tours and all that good stuff.
Yes.
All right. Next up, we're going to be talking about where to stay in Queenstown. Okay, so what do we have in the live chat? Oh, Matua X is here saying, Morena, Matua X, we have a question for you. Earlier on, we had somebody called Rob Wilson that says, is rugby still being played in the shoulder season? Which we're talking about October and the month of March, those kind of months,
Yeah,
right?
so more like so March, April, May.
Yeah.
And then
Do you guys play rugby in March, April, May? Or
sort of October and November.
yeah. So do you guys still play rugby? So Rob says that last time he came to New Zealand, he saw a Warriors game in Auckland and he had a great time. So they want to try to catch another rugby game when they visit. So can you give a bit of insight? Because obviously you know that us and sport are not the best. And so I told Rob that you were coming up soon in the live show, and I was right. So I'm pretty happy with that. And so we said we'd ask you the question because you're better placed to answer that. In the meantime, what is Rick saying?
Rick says, what are the must-do hikes in Queenstown?
So Ben Lomond, obviously,
Yeah.
are going up the gondola as well. It's kind of cool. What
Yeah.
else? Do you want to give a couple more?
So the one that if you don't want to go up the gondola, and also actually to access the Ben Lomond track, there is what's called the Tiki Trail, which goes up Bob's Peak, which is the same hill that is with the gondola on it. Also, Queenstown Hill is a nice walk that you can do. It's just behind the suburb of Queenstown that is called Queenstown Hill. But they do have some nice sculptures and stuff as you're walking up, and then good views of Lake Wakatipu and Queenstown from there. If you do have a vehicle, you can drive out to places like Moke Lake, which is really nice. There's also, I think it's called 5 Mile Bay. I hope I'm getting the number right. But 5 Mile Bay, over there, they have a short walk which takes you to one of the Lord of the Rings filming locations, if you're interested in that. And also another good walk would be Lake Alta, which is located at the top of the road which accesses the Remarkables ski field. So this walk is only accessible during the summer months, or the months basically when there isn't snow cover over that area. And that's a really good sort of adventurous walk that you can go on. So there's a few ones to sort of look into.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool. So while we are waiting for Matua X answers for Mr. Rob Wilson, we will. Well, what about we answer Rob's questions? May as well. Will not recommend Queenstown in early July unless you ski. It was school holiday and man, the place was crowded and traffic was pretty crazy. Still had a great time and the scenery is amazing. Yeah, no, I agree. And Queenstown, to be quite honest, Queenstown is kind of a place that is always really busy and the traffic is really not great, right? It's a small town which tries to pack like as many tourists as a large city. And yeah, it's not, the infrastructures are not kind of ready for the amount of tourists that goes there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one part that makes me not really enjoy Queenstown as much as other places. But yeah, that's a very insightful comment, Rob, and I basically wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, you'll find that July for going pretty much anywhere in Queenstown, anywhere in New Zealand in July is obviously school holidays everywhere. So you will find that especially ski fields are really packed during that month. Like that is the month I would always recommend to avoid, mainly because of the school holidays, but also because the snow coverage is usually not that good in July, so you're not getting the best ski experience either. So in general, I would say if you're going anywhere to ski in July, anywhere to ski in New Zealand, then best to avoid July. Better to go for August and September.
Depends. I mean, if you enjoy skiing on snow, then like you may want to not travel in July. But if you enjoy skiing on the crushed dreams of hordes of school children, then at that point it's perfect conditions.
Great insight, Robin.
I know. I'm here for all your travel insight, right? You can clearly tell who's the brain in the team right here, guys. All right. So look, 4 people left after that joke. You guys are
Crushed dreams of school children.
living.
What sort of monster are you?
Basic says, one more. Is it safe to swim in the ocean? What about sharks and jellyfish? I mean, mate, there is only a handful of people that die by shark attack in the world every year. Sharks are not a danger in the ocean. I don't know. I never understand. I've swim with shark and it's fine, mate. So, is it safe from shark? Yes, but like sharks attack are extremely rare in New Zealand. You won't be eaten by a shark. Even an insurer will give you a bet on that. Jellyfish, I haven't heard much of jellyfishes in New Zealand. I think that's kind of fine.
They're not too much of an issue.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty safe. The one thing you need to keep in mind, right, when swimming in New Zealand is the fact that the coastlines are pretty exposed, right? So reefs, currents are more of the danger, right, and waves. That's more of the danger. Knowing how to spot a reef. On the beach and seeing basically a reef is that section of the water that's kind of retreating and taking you far off the ocean, and knowing how to manage that when you get caught onto a reef, right, which is kind of swimming along the shore and not trying to swim against it. Those kind of things are the thing that will save your life when swimming in New Zealand, more than knowing how to deal when a shark is coming to attack you. That won't happen. Why are people scared of sharks? Sharks are amazing. Anyway. Yes, I love sharks.
Yeah.
Ideal says, do you have any information on your website regarding the roadside assistance service in New Zealand? Thank you very much for all your assistance.
Despite how detailed our website is about
I don't think we have
almost
an article about
every
that, yeah.
aspect of travelling in New Zealand, we do not have a dedicated section about the roadside assistance.
I can explain you why. Roadside assistance are very often paired up with insurances. And there is a lot of financial laws in New Zealand that kind of really restrict how and what you can say about insurances and all that. So for that reason, we try to just stay away from that and just only speak to the thing that we actually know about and speak about our own experiences. So that's why we don't cover that too much. However, you can read more about that when we talk about the car rental, different car rentals and car options. Then at that point, when we send you to the right website, you'll be able to kind of read on their website. Okay, answer for Rob. The National Rugby League, NRL, regular season usually begins in the first week of March, finishing in the first weekend of September before the finals series. Here's your answer from Matua X about rugby.
Yeah. Thanks, Matua X.
Yeah, thank you very much for that detailed
Yes.
answer. I actually really like it. Even explain what NRL is. I thought that was the Australian rugby, to be quite fair, when people say the NRL. So here you go, I learned something.
We all learned something today.
Yeah. What is it called, footy? When they do that in a round circle? Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
There is like a rugby. There is a fancy rugby that they play in the circular fields, and they hit the ball like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was that. But
Okay.
Maybe.
Anyway.
Oh, maybe that's AFL. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Again, we're not good with sports.
Yeah.
That's we know what we don't know. Yeah, AFL, Australian Football League, says Rick.
Okay.
So here you go. People know more than I do about sports. All right. Hey, everybody's asking amazing questions. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, we continue covering Queenstown. You continue giving us questions, and we meet back once we finish.
We'll meet in the
Queenstown.
middle.
All right, so another 2 minutes about Queenstown, and this time we're going to be talking about something else. Let me just do the clicker-click. Here you go. All right, next up on our coverage to Queenstown, we're going to be talking about accommodations and best places to stay. So it's really hard to select only a handful of places to stay in when it comes down to Queenstown, because there is so many accommodation options. There is really, really, really heaps. And on top of that, well, everybody travels differently and with different budget. Because believe me, if you want to spend $10,000 a night, there are some options for you in Queenstown, but there are also some options for you if you only want to spend $40 a night. So Laura has prepared a handful of suggestions of places that we like within kind of a certain amount of criterias. And aside from that, we have plenty of articles on NZ Pocket Guide covering everything like best hotels, apartment, backpackers, luxury accommodation, camping spot, and everything in between. So check the link in the description below for detailed suggestions for your way of travel. But in the meantime, Laura, some suggestions, please.
So if you want to go, 5-star hotel, there's loads of options in Queenstown, but one that we like is the Queenstown Park boutique hotel. So this is obviously a much smaller room count, and it makes sort of that more luxury experience a little bit more special, and it's within walking distance of Queenstown town centre. Next up, if you want to go on the opposite end of the scale for something a lot cheaper, backpacker budget, then I'll give you two quick options. There's Adventure Queenstown, which is really good sort of personal service, which is often hard to find in hostels and backpackers. And then another really cool option is Absolute Queenstown, which is on the lakeside, a very really good location right in the center of town, beautiful views of Lake Wakatipu from there, and it's a hostel, so it's cheap. Next up, if you're looking for an out of town experience, maybe something romantic, then the Canyons B&B is a really nice option if you want something to, escape away from the hustle and bustle of Queenstown. Then that's a really good option, the Canyons B&B. If you're looking for a more eco-friendly accommodation, which is about a 5-minute drive from town, then Sherwood is a nice option. They have a really good sort of unique characteristics of their hotel, where they have like their decor is all recycled materials. They do like organic food at their restaurants and all that sort of thing. So that's a cool point of difference. And then finally, if you want to find somewhere that's nice and affordable, but man, you have to book really far ahead, because it's sort of like this mid-range B&B option that's also affordable, which can be quite hard to find in Queenstown. Then Melbourne Lodge is a long-established accommodation, which is only a 5-minute walk from town, and it has that sort of cozy, homely feel to it, like a B&B. But it's sort of boutique feel accommodation, somewhere between a hostel and a hotel, so sort of meets in the middle.
And if I have to pick my own personal favorite accommodation in Queenstown, and I'm more on the budget side because I do like to interact with other travelers, I will pick the one on the photo right here, which is Absolute Backpackers in Queenstown.
I already mentioned it.
Do you talk about them?
Yeah. It's not on the list, but I decided to.
Oh, you talk about it. Oh, well, I kind of was running out. Anyway, it's my favorite. Here you go. That's it. Next up, we'll talk about places to eat at in Queenstown.
Wow,
right.
That's embarrassing. You're not even listening to me.
No, I'm not. I'm busy. I'm reading the comments and I'm doing the clickety-click. All right. Rick was confirming the AFL. Matthew Ike says he had to think a little bit about his answer. Yeah, no, I appreciate the very detailed answer. That was really cool. Fabio is here, one of our awesome Patreon. He says he cannot stay around, but he wants to say hi. Hey, how are you doing, mate? Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Thanks for popping in.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then Rick says Olaf, which
is the snowman in Frozen.
I think it may just mean hello in some sort of language, I guess, but I'm not sure. Okay, all right. So why did I say Olaf when I meant Fabio? Well, Fabio does look like a snowman from from Frozen. And he says, late Merry Christmas. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too, my friend.
Let's not forget about Christmas.
All right, everybody. So continue asking us all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. It does not have to be about Queenstown. We do those live shows every single week for you to answer all your questions about traveling in New Zealand, to give you a bit of a back and forth, being able to poke the brains behind the New Zealand's largest travel guide. Wow, we are punny today. And in the meantime, we'll continue our coverage about Queenstown. So, boom. Where to eat in Queenstown? So let's talk about food. So there's many different restaurants in Queenstown. The same kind of qualifier applies to what we were talking about for accommodations. If you do want a full list of the places that we recommend, check the link in the description below. However, Laura has prepared maybe a 5 favorites, something like that. That's what you prepared?
Yes.
5 favorite places to eat, because she's the stomach of us both.
Okay. All right. So if money is no option and you're wanting to go somewhere like, we're only in Queenstown once, let's go treat ourselves to some fine dining, then the Bunker is highly recommended. It's located in a tiny lane called Cow Lane, nestled in the streets of Queenstown. And it's very much a sort of cozy fine dining experience where it's by the fireside. They have a cocktail bar. It's sort of like it's very much like, small plate fine dining. You choose your meat or your vegetarian option, whether you want to go for the duck or the Nelson salmon or, the goat's cheese on the vegetarian menu, that sort of thing. So that's kind of their vibe. It's certainly a place if you want to go impress. Queenstown is also renowned for its the Otago wine region, which is right on its doorstep. So if you want to go and experience sort of a winery dinner, they're nearby, not too far away, just on the road towards Arrowtown and Lake Hayes is the Amersfield Winery and Bistro. So that would be a nice place to go experience that sort of winery setting, but not have to travel all the way out to where many more wineries are located, sort of a bit further out of town. There's also Devil Burger. So
better than Ferg Burger.
Controversially, everybody knows about Ferg Burger, which is the place where you get your oversized burgers in Queenstown. It usually comes with a very long line, a very long waiting time. So if you want to go for something that is arguably better, maybe just as good. I don't know where I stand on that one. But Devil Burger is a great option to get that experience as well. And it's also located in the center of town. Another really good place if you want to experience that classic Kiwi fish and chips experience.
And one of the weirdest desserts you can get, which is a deep fried kiwi fruit, which is delicious.
Yeah, then
how to make like something healthy, like absolutely unhealthy though. I have to say that's awesome.
So yeah, Eric's Fish and Chips is a great option in Queenstown. And it's also, a lot of the restaurants can be quite expensive. So if you want something that is much more affordable, laid back, get yourself a takeaway from Eric's Fish and Chips, and try their deep fried kiwi fruit. And then finally, for wacky desserts, then Balls and Bangles is a very...
Don't think you can say that on YouTube, Laura.
Yes. We will be demonetized now for saying Balls and Bangles. But yeah, this is the name of basically a dessert shop where they have really wacky design desserts and, inject your own donuts, all that sort of thing. That's another alternative dessert place to try.
Now, Queenstown also features a lot of great foodie experiences and food tours, from winery tours to craft breweries and everything in between. There's even some places where you can go and spin your own honey, which is really awesome. And there are some really cool little markets. So make sure to check the link in the description below for our suggestion on that. Next up, we'll talk about Queenstown for budget travelers and many other options. Anthony says, stay safe, but I'm here until the end. He's kicking us out already. Yeah.
We have 9 minutes left of the live show, so we will try and squeeze in some last minute Queenstown tips.
Yeah, and if you do have some questions, go ahead. Otherwise, we're here every week at the same time, so make that a habit. Okay, let's prepare for the next stage. Are you ready, Laura?
Yeah.
All right, Laura, tell us more. All right, Laura, tell us more about Queenstown for budget travelers.
All right, so I'll just quickly go through a few things that you can do on a budget in Queenstown. If you don't want to spend hardly any money, then you can hike up Queenstown Hill, which is a nice sort of like couple of hours walk behind the suburb of Queenstown Hill, getting some really cool views of the lake and town. There's also the Queenstown Gardens, so you can take a stroll through the beautiful gardens right in the town centre. Even if you want to spend a bit of money, hire some frisbee discs, and they have a frisbee golf course there. Yep. There's also Queenstown Beach, which is basically a beach right in the centre of town on the lakeside. You can also spend a few money on a Ferg Burger or a Devil Burger if you want to try one of those. A few money, yeah.
Oh, Laura is from the Middle Ages today.
A few coins.
Would you spare a few money, my sir?
Yeah. And then finally, you can do if you do have your own vehicle, you can drive up to Moke Lake, which has a beautiful walk around there. Really nice area, and there's a campground there. So if you're camping and you want to stay somewhere cheap, then Moke Lake is a good option.
check out NZ Pocket Guide for 30 more free and cheap things to do in Queenstown, of course.
Of course.
Okay, next up, let's talk about what happens if you want to spend beaucoup money in Queenstown. There are a plethora of luxury experiences, so it's really hard to find, like, you know, which one would be the best one and everything. And again, we got you covered on NZ Pocket Guide. But Laura, do you want to highlight 5?
Yeah, so to do the Queenstown to Milford Sound experience, do that by flying via fixed wing flight or helicopter. There's certainly options for that in Queenstown, so we do have comparison articles on nzpocketguide.com. You can also do a private 4-wheel drive of Skipper's Canyon. So this is regarded one of the most dangerous roads in New Zealand, and you can go on a private excursion down there, learn about the history of the place and soak up the amazing scenery. You can play golf at one of Queenstown's prestigious golf courses. They do have some of the top golf courses around the country. So yeah, Queenstown is certainly a good place to you know, tee off. Golfing terms, I know something. Yeah, you can also do heli skiing during the winter season, or Queenstown does even have its own private ski resort. So yeah, you can find out more about that on NZ Pocket Guide as well. So make sure you check out the link in the description. And finally, you can do a guided walk of one of the nearby New Zealand Great Walks, such as the Route Burn Track. So doing a guided experience means that you'll be educated on the different flora and fauna you'll be seeing along the way. We do even have a video on this channel of us doing that really different, unique experience, because a lot of us wouldn't consider doing a guided hike, but that is surprisingly awesome. So yeah, check that out on us doing a guided walk of the Route Burn Track on this channel.
All right, so next we have Rob Wilson that says meat pies in New Zealand were pretty cheap eats, were filling and tasty.
Yes.
Nice variety of pies as well.
Yeah, that's certainly a good way to fill up for lunch without having to spend, like, you know, all the money. Like, usually if you're paying for a main meal in New Zealand, that would be like between sort of like 20 to 30 New Zealand dollars for lunch.
For a cheap lunch, yeah, that'd be
for a cheap lunch. But then if you're picking up a pie from
like
a local
$6,
bakery,
yeah.
it's about $6. So yeah, obviously that would be a much cheaper option for sort of getting you through lunch each
and
day.
they're very Kiwi things, so you know, it's also a New Zealand experience, right? You know, pretty much all Kiwi tradies are fueled on pies. Sorry,
Yes.
As Clay will say, which is another one about Patreon. All right, let's continue talking about Queenstown while you guys are wrapping us up with some more comments. All right, so next up, let's talk about Queenstown for families. So Queenstown is a bit of a family paradise. There's really a lot to keep the kids entertained there. Laura, do you want to give us 5 of your favorite options?
Certainly. So for if you want to get that adrenaline experience in that is also family friendly, then jet boating would be my recommendation. There are several jet boating excursions that you can take in Queenstown, so we do have them all compared on nzpocketguide.com, so make sure to check out the website or search jet boat Queenstown on the search bar and you'll find the article I'm referring to. A zipline tour, so that is you can do a really awesome zipline tour from the top of the Skyline gondola. This is it appeals to a wide range of age ranges, and it's more that soft adventure activity, so it's not as crazy as doing a bungee jump, but it's a really cool sort of half-day experience with the family. You can also go and learn about New Zealand wildlife and birds at Kiwi Park. So this is sort of like a wildlife conservation centre, and they do a few shows there to explain about the interesting New Zealand birds, and you'll get to see a few there as well. There's also Walter Peak, which is the sort of high station farm experience of New Zealand, where you'll get to see a few farming demonstrations, see some animals, some sheepdogs working the animals, and that sort of thing, which usually kids are really into and find really interesting. So it's a really good family experience. And then finally, a nice silly activity that's really hilarious to do as a family is to do the luge, which again is at the top of the Skyline gondola, and it's sort of this like downhill go-karting. It's powered by gravity. It's very easy to control these go-karts, basically just lifting handlebars up and down. So yeah, that's a really cool thing to do as a family.
Okay, so we have Adil that asks, does Queenstown have any handicap accessible activities to do? Yeah, there is quite a lot of them actually.
Yeah, so obviously it depends on your level of mobility. We do have articles on nzpocketguide.com which does answer your question specifically, telling you about the specific activities that you can do. For instance, jet boating can be accessible depending on your level of disability. There's even skydiving. There are some skydiving companies that will, that have worked with people with disabilities in the past, and they're certainly have experience in that. So a lot of these adventure activities you actually surprisingly can do, but again, depends on your level of disability. It's always best to contact the company you want or tour that you think you might be able to do. Contact them in advance, and then they should be able to advise whether they can do it. They always work more on a case-by-case basis, so they'll need to do a bit more preparation with you compared to like their normal tours. So yeah, always ask in advance, and Ideal, look at our articles on nzpocketguide.com where we have lots of lists of like the different activities that are most suitable for disabled travelers.
There you go. Cool question though, really good. Everybody asking us cool questions. Oh man, it feels so refreshing. We had the stint of like 2 months of like really low turnout for the live show, so we really appreciate you guys actually coming up with questions and coming over and everything, interacting with us. It's cool. So yeah, keep that going week after week.
Yes.
All right, let's continue with Queenstown. Are you guys coming up with some more questions or saying goodbye as we're almost wrapping up this live show?
Yeah.
All right, so next up and last thing we're going to be talking about for Queenstown is Queenstown for couples. So how about a bit of romantic time in Queenstown, Laura? What would you like to do?
Well, are you asking me?
Yes.
Are we going? Okay.
Yes.
So if you want to do something really special, it's a bit pricey, but, something that is, out of the ordinary, then there are helicopter companies that will take you for a private picnic in the mountains. So that can certainly be, something for a special occasion. There's also cruising on Lake Wakatipu. There are various options for taking a cruise on the lake. Most popular is the TSS Earnslaw. Southern Discoveries have stopped doing their cruise on the lake there. But yeah, there's also kayaking, that sort of thing as well to enjoy on the lake. Walking hand in hand through the Queenstown Gardens, through beautiful flower gardens. Oh.
Laura likes to do our date nights very cheaply.
It's the simple things, If you can't afford the helicopter picnic, then maybe the Queenstown Gardens will be suitable. If you want to do an adrenaline activity together, then Shotover Canyon Swing or Nevis Swing, they're both you can do them in tandem, so you can do them together and do the huge canyon swing and have a crazy time together. That's probably the best option for couples. And then finally, a more intimate way to enjoy Milford Sound would be to take one of the scenic fixed wing flights over there, and there's different packages you can do. You can fly over there, do the cruise and fly back, or just do a scenic flight.
And you can do it private if you want to do it private.
As well. So yeah, and we do have many more suggestions on an article that we have on nzpocketguide.com, which is 20 romantic things to do in Queenstown. So believe me, we have a lot more that we can recommend.
All right, so that wraps up our coverage of Queenstown. If you find this video useful, make sure to hit like, to subscribe, all that good buttons that the robots of YouTube want you to do. And if you want to plan your trip to New Zealand, check out nzpocketguide.com. There's a link for you in the description of this video. It's New Zealand's largest travel guide, and it is basically a database of all our expert knowledge available to you for free. We also have a great Patreon group where you can come and plan your trip with our assistants. We do group calls and all that, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, otherwise we see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. And thanks for all the assistance, says Rob Wilson. I appreciate you, my friends. Thank you very much for saying that. All right. Next up, we actually have our Patreon group call. So yeah, that's going to happen in a second. Macho Alex says, I'm going to wait till you jump on the group call. Yeah, it's coming up right now. Adil says
take care. See you both in the next show.
see you next week. And
Yep.
Rick says bye.
Bye.
We'll see if Rick is joining on the group call. Usually he's at work, so it's kind of like
harder to
yeah.
sneak in.
All right, see you all guys in the group call in a minute. Bye bye.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Bye.
Okay. Well, that stopped that abruptly, I think. Can you refill that for me?